Imagine a drum beat echoing through the night, deep, steady, and alive. It is not just sound, it is the heartbeat of the earth, the whisper of the ancestors, the voice of the gods. In Africa, music and dance were never created for entertainment alone. They were born in fire and ritual, in temples and shrines, where every step and every rhythm carried divine meaning. Before there were concert halls, there were sacred groves. Before there were stages, there were village circles lit by fire. And before there were performers, there were priests, priestesses, and dancers possessed by spirits. To the African people, music was not separate from life. It was life itself, a language older than words, capable of opening gates between the human and the divine. From the thunderous rhythms of Shango, the Orisha of lightning, to the graceful dances of Oshun, goddess of rivers and love. From the healing drum ceremonies of Central Africa to the trance dances of the Zulu warriors. Every beat was a prayer, every movement a story, every song a bridge to the unseen. Today, when we hear Afrobeats, jazz, samba, or reggae, we hear more than modern music. We hear the gods still speaking through rhythm, their voices carried across centuries, seas, and souls. So the question is, what happens when we listen closely? Do we simply hear music, or do we hear the echo of gods who shape the very way the world moves and dances? In many African cultures, rhythm is not simply a series of beats. It is a divine language, a sacred code that binds the physical and spiritual worlds. This belief isn't metaphorical, it is lived. Across the continent, sound, especially rhythmic sound, has long been seen as a bridge between humans and the spirit world. Every drum beat, every pattern in a dance holds more than artistic value. It is a conversation with the divine. This connection is most evident in how communities treat drums. They are not mere instruments, they are sacred vessels. Often crafted with ceremony and respect, drums are believed to carry souls. Offerings are made to them. They are spoken to. When a drum sounds, it isn't just music, it's the voice of the gods. Many traditions say the drum speaks for the gods, delivering their messages, announcing their presence, honoring their power. Among the Yoruba people, this belief takes on vivid life. Ayon, the spirit of drumming, is not just folklore. He is a real spiritual force. Ayon blesses those who devote themselves to rhythm. Drummers are seen as chosen ones, vessels for divine communication. Their hands don't just play, they translate. In Yoruba rituals, drumming is intentional and precise, with each rhythm serving a spiritual purpose. Yoruba drumming is not improvisation, it's liturgy. The rhythms are ancient prayers. They carry memory, energy, and direction. The talking drum in particular doesn't just mimic speech, it speaks. It uses tones to form words, to carry conversations across space and time. Through these rhythms, the gods are summoned, ancestors are honored, and communities are united in a single pulse. Each performance is both musical and metaphysical, an act of faith, devotion, and communion. This sacred view of rhythm is not limited to the Yoruba. Across West, Central, and Southern Africa, similar beliefs flourish. Rhythm is not an invention, it is an inheritance. Many elders describe each beat as a reflection of the original heartbeat of creation. Long before languages were formed, before gods had names, there was rhythm. It was the first sound, the vibration that brought the universe into motion. That primordial pulse still resonates today. Because of this, rhythm lies at the center of ritual. No ceremony begins without it. Whether celebrating birth, mourning death, healing the sick, or seeking guidance, the drum opens the way. It grounds the people and lifts the spirit. It reminds them that they are part of something greater, that the ancestors are near, and the divine is listening. In community life, rhythm shapes more than just ceremonies. It teaches values, transmits history, and creates identity. Children learn not just how to drum, but how to feel. The goal isn't to master tempo, it's to embody rhythm. When someone truly enters that state, they don't just play the drum, they become the rhythm. And in that moment, something powerful happens. They transform into a channel, a bridge between the seen and unseen. Through centuries of change, this spiritual power of rhythm has endured. Even in modern settings, on stages, in classrooms, in cities, the drum still carries its ancient weight. When the beat begins, something awakens. We are reminded that rhythm was never just ours, it was a gift from the gods. And through every beat we play, every step we dance, we keep their voice alive. The gods are not distant figures, they are present in vibration. In every sacred rhythm, the divine breathes highest. Drummers know this, dancers feel this, the community senses it. That's why, even today, the drum is treated with reverence, never played carelessly. It is honored, remembered, and respected, for in its beat lies a memory of the origin of life, a rhythm older than time itself. In Yoruba spirituality, music and rhythm are inseparable from the divine. At the heart of this connection are the Orishas, powerful deities, each with unique personalities, stories, and sounds. Their presence isn't just invoked through prayer or offerings, it's summoned through rhythm. Each Orisha has specific drum patterns, songs, and dances designed to call them into the physical world. The music is not symbolic, it's functional. It brings the gods to life. One of the most powerful Orishas is Shango, the god of thunder, fire, and masculinity. He is known not only for his fierce power, but for his profound connection to drumming. Shango's spirit is awakened through the energetic, thunderous rhythms of the Bata drum ensemble. These drums don't simply honor him, they are his voice. When played correctly, the Bata drums can make the room shake, mimicking thunder and stirring the air. The rhythms used for Shango are sharp, aggressive, and commanding. His arrival is felt in the chest like a lightning strike, sudden and overwhelming. Then there is Oshun, goddess of fresh water, fertility, love, and sensuality. If Shango is fire, Oshun is flowing water. She dances with grace, softness, and a seductive confidence. Her rhythms are fluid, smooth, and sweet. The drummers lower their intensity, focusing instead on melodic tones and steady flows. Her movements are slow, curved, and deliberate, mimicking the winding path of rivers. When Oshun arrives, the atmosphere changes. It becomes gentle, soothing, almost romantic. Her presence is felt like a whisper, calm, inviting, magnetic. Oya, on the other hand, brings chaos and power. As the goddess of winds, storms, and transformation, her rhythms are wild and unpredictable. Oya's dances are full of spinning, flailing, and sudden shifts. Her energy isn't soft or measured, it's a whirlwind. Drummers shift into faster, more erratic patterns. The music spirals, crescendos, and crashes like a storm. Oya doesn't arrive quietly. She bursts into the space. Her possession is intense. It demands attention and shakes the ground beneath the feet of the dancers. The Bata drum is central to these invocations. It's a sacred instrument made of a double-headed hourglass shape, played in ensembles of 3. Each drum, Iya, Itotele, and Okonkolo, has a role. Together they speak to the Orishas using rhythmic phrases known as tokes. These aren't improvised, they are memorized, passed down, and performed with ritual precision. A missed note is more than a musical mistake, it's a spiritual misfire. To summon the Orisha, the rhythm must be correct, the intention pure, the energy aligned. The talking drum, or dundun, adds another layer. It mimics human speech through tension-adjusted pitch, capable of speaking Yoruba phrases. Drummers use it to praise the Orishas, announce their names, tell stories, and even engage in musical conversations with the gods. In ceremonies, the talking drum can shift the energy in a room, guiding both the drummers and dancers through sacred progression. These rhythms are not one-size-fits-all. Each Orisha requires a specific combination of beat, tone, and tempo. These combinations are so precise that trained listeners can identify which deity is being called just by the rhythm. A Shango rhythm is loud, full-bodied, and forceful. An Oshun rhythm is flirtatious, sweet, and melodic. An Oya rhythm is restless, stormy, and sharp. It's like a musical signature. No two Orishas sound alike. Dancers play a critical role in this exchange. They don't just move, they embody. A dancer becomes Shango by stomping with power, spinning with fire, striking poses that echo lightning. To embody Oshun, one must sway with fluid hips, caress the air and glide with elegance. To channel Oya, dancers whip through space, spin uncontrollably, and mimic the swirl of wind. When done properly, the dancer isn't performing. They are being ridden. The Orisha is believed to possess the dancer's body, taking over motion, expression, and energy. These rituals are not performances in the modern sense. They are spiritual events. Every rhythm, every step, every gesture is sacred. The ceremony is a dialogue between realms. The drummers call, the dancers answer, and if everything aligns, the Orisha comes. Possession is not feared, it's welcomed. It is a sign of favor, of successful connection. Each ceremony is a reunion between gods and their people. The Orishas, through music and movement, become real. The entire community becomes part of the ritual. It's a communal act of devotion, a shared vibration that unites humans with the divine. In each beat and sacred sway, the gods reveal themselves. It evolves yet stays sacred. In Central and Southern Africa, music and dance are more than tradition. They are sacred technologies of healing, justice, memory, and spiritual contact. These rhythms are not random bursts of cultural energy. They are carefully preserved rituals, passed down through generations as a means of speaking with the divine among the Bantu-speaking peoples, particularly in regions of Congo, Angola, and Zambia. The use of Ngoma drums lies at the heart of this sacred expression. Ngoma doesn't just mean drum, it also refers to a ceremony, a healing process, a gathering where community and spirit converge. Ngoma ceremonies are built around the belief that illness is not purely physical. Sickness, misfortune, and emotional distress are often seen as disruptions in the relationship between the living and the ancestral realm. To restore balance, the community gathers, drums begin to speak. Their rhythms are steady, deep, and pulsing, mimicking the body's internal rhythm. The beat draws the sick person into trance, enabling them to access spiritual dimensions. Dancers form a circle, moving not just for spectacle but for treatment. As the tempo rises, healing begins, not from the doctor's hand, but from the ancestors, summoned through movement and sound. Among the Zulu people of South Africa, rhythm and movement take on a different but equally powerful form. In traditional Zulu ceremonies, warrior dances serve as a powerful expression of ancestral energy. The dances are sharp, grounded, explosive. Young men stomp the earth with force, leap into the air, and strike poses of defiance and strength. But these aren't just gestures of masculinity. They are spiritual performances meant to invoke ancestral warriors. The belief is that through these movements, the living connect with the courage, wisdom, and protection of their forebears. In this way, the dancer becomes a vessel for lineage, embodying the bravery of generations past. Ceremonies often begin with the sounding of drums and horns, followed by chants that name the ancestors and call them into the space. Once the rhythm settles into the bones of the dancers, the transformation begins. Eyes shift, breath changes. The line between this world and the spirit world begins to blur. The dancer's body is no longer fully theirs, it becomes an offering. Through the intensity of movement and the pull of rhythm, it is believed that spirits may mount the dancer. In this state, they are guided by forces beyond themselves. Movements become spontaneous, unplanned, sometimes impossible to replicate. The dancer's voice may change. Messages may be delivered. It is a sacred surrender to something greater than the self. Further north in the Congo, among the Baluba people, the drum holds a role that transcends rhythm and ritual. It serves as a divine judge. In traditional settings, when conflicts arise, the community does not always turn to verbal argument or authority figures. Instead, they turn to ceremony. A sacred drum, believed to house ancestral wisdom, is played in the presence of both parties. As the rhythm builds, elders observe the reaction of those involved. The truth is not just told, it is revealed. The guilty may show signs, nervousness, agitation, spiritual discomfort. Sometimes the drumming will lead to possession, where spirit enters the body of a dancer or elder and speaks on the matter. This form of justice is spiritual, communal, and deeply embodied. The ceremony is not about punishment but restoration. The goal is to bring the community back into alignment. The drum speaks, the ancestors judge, and the people listen. It is a form of law rooted in rhythm and respect for the unseen. The drum in this context is not entertainment, it is a moral force, a bridge between wrongdoing and redemption. These traditions across Central and Southern Africa share a common core, belief in the power of rhythm to open portals, invite spirits, and transform human experience. Whether it's the Ngoma used to heal the body, the Zulu dances used to awaken ancestral strength, or the Baluba drums that deliver spiritual justice, the principle remains the same. The drum beat is the heartbeat of the divine. The dance is the motion of spirit in the flesh. And in every case, the ceremony is a moment of union between the living and the dead, the visible and invisible, the broken and the healed. The experience of being mounted by gods or ancestors is not viewed with fear, but with awe. It is proof that the sacred has chosen to enter the room. Those who are mounted often cannot remember the experience after it ends. They return from trance altered, sometimes physically exhausted, sometimes emotionally overwhelmed, but always spiritually renewed. In this way, possession becomes a gift, a mark of deep connection with the realm of spirit. Through these ancient practices, communities have preserved their harmony, healed their wounds, and honored their past. The ceremonies may vary from region to region, but the essence remains unchanged. The divine enters through rhythm. The gods and ancestors respond not to words but to the drumbeat, to the body in motion, to the sincerity of ritual. Music and dance are not accessories to African spirituality. They are its very breath. Across many African spiritual systems, music and dance serve as far more than art or celebration. They are tools for transformation. Central to this transformation is the phenomenon of spiritual possession, where rhythm becomes a channel for divine entry. In these moments, gods and spirits are not just imagined or symbolized. They are believed to physically enter the bodies of humans, using rhythm as a spiritual highway from the other world into our reality. This possession is not metaphorical. It is a lived experience, one that transforms the dancer, the space, and the entire community witnessing the ritual. The process begins with the drum beat. It doesn't start loudly or urgently. It begins as a whisper, soft, steady, familiar. As it repeats layer upon layer, the rhythm deepens. The repetition isn't accidental, it is calculated. Patterns in the drumming aren't just for musical pleasure. They are coded frequencies designed to prepare the human body for spiritual contact. As the tempo builds, dancers enter a state of hyper-awareness or even trance. Movements become less controlled by conscious thought and more driven by rhythm itself. The line between self and sound dissolves. What begins as a dance becomes a ritual of surrender. In this heightened state, the body becomes receptive. The spirit or deity, watching from the other side, recognizes the rhythm. The rhythm becomes a signal, a doorway, a path. Possession doesn't happen suddenly. It arrives in waves. First, there's a change in breath, then posture, then gaze. And before long, the dancer is no longer entirely themselves. Their body is moving, but their spirit is stepping aside. The god enters. And now, the movement, the expression, the voice, it all belongs to something greater. One of the clearest examples of this can be seen in Vodun ceremonies across West Africa and the Caribbean. In these sacred rituals, music, dance, and song are used to invite deities known as Loa, such as Legba, the gatekeeper of the spirit world, or Agwe, the ruler of the sea. Each spirit has its own rhythm, its own dance, its own preferred songs. When the right combination is played and sung, The lower response. Possession follows. A person may begin to tremble, shout, or dance with a force that seems superhuman. The voice might change, the eyes may roll back. Those nearby know instantly the spirit has arrived. But this moment is not terrifying, it is sacred. Those possessed are not seen as strange or unstable. They are respected, revered. They are vessels. What they say during possession is listened to with deep seriousness. Messages may be given, guidance shared, healing offered. The possessed become mouthpieces for the divine, temporary bridges between the visible and the invisible. And when the spirit leaves, there is often a sense of release, a mixture of exhaustion, clarity, and reverence. The ceremony continues, but everyone knows that something real just occurred. This idea that dance is not performance but communion is foundational to traditional African spiritual expression. In the West, we often think of dance as entertainment, a showcase of skill or beauty, but in these traditions, dance is sacred labor. It is a language. Each step is a syllable, each gesture a sentence, and together they form a prayer written not with words, but with the body. To dance is to speak to the gods. To be possessed is to let them speak back. Even those who are not possessed during ceremonies are part of the communion. The drummers, the singers, the watchers, they all share in the energy. It is a collective offering, a moment where time and space collapse. The music does not simply accompany the ritual. It is the ritual. It is the carrier of intention, the architect of atmosphere, the key to transcendence. Without rhythm, there is no path. Without movement, there is no message. Without surrender, there is no transformation. Through this sacred cycle, beat, trance, possession, return, music and dance become something eternal. They allow human beings to remember that we are not just flesh and thought. We are spirit, we are rhythm, and in the moment we let go and listen, something ancient wakes within us. Something that moves, that knows, that dances with the gods. When Africans were violently uprooted from their homelands and sold into slavery, they did not arrive in the Americas empty-handed. Though their languages were suppressed, their names erased, and their freedoms stolen, they carried within them something no chains could restrain: rhythm. These divine rhythms, born in shrines, ceremonies, and sacred dances, traveled across the Atlantic Ocean in the hearts, hands, and feet of the enslaved. Music became a vessel of survival, resistance, and memory. It was a way of holding on to the gods, even when everything else had been taken. In Cuba, Brazil, Haiti, and beyond, these rhythms evolved but did not die. The Orishas, gods of Yoruba origin, followed their people across the seas. In the Americas, they found new names, new ceremonies, but kept their essence intact. In Cuba, the worship of the Orishas became Santeria. In Brazil, it transformed into Candomblé. In Haiti, the spirits mingled with local traditions to become voodoo. In all these forms, sacred dance and drumming remained central. Each god still had their rhythms. Shango's thunder still rolled in the bata drums. Oshun still flowed in the graceful movements of her daughters. Oya still stormed through ceremonies with fierce, swirling dances. These diasporic religions are not diluted versions of African spirituality. They are proof of its power to adapt, endure, and transform. Even as these spiritual practices were preserved, African rhythms began to shape secular music in profound ways. In Brazil, the samba was born from drumming circles rooted in candomblé. In Haiti, the syncopated beats of voodoo ceremonies infused the rise of compas and music racine. In Cuba, rumba and salsa evolved from sacred drumming traditions. These genres became the heartbeat of cities, the soundtrack of resistance movements, and the soul of national identities. Meanwhile, in the United States, the same African rhythms merged with Western instruments and cultural conditions to create entirely new forms. The roots of jazz, blues, and later hip-hop and R&B all traced back to the spiritual drumming and rhythmic sensibilities of West Africa. Jazz's improvisational freedom echoes the trance-like creativity of traditional drummers. Hip-hop's beat-driven structure mirrors the way music grounds ceremonies in rhythm. Even gospel music, with its call and response structure and emotional delivery, carries the echoes of ancestral worship. In the Caribbean, reggae emerged as a spiritual music, deeply influenced by Rastafarian beliefs, which themselves pull from African traditions. Reggae used drums not just for groove, but for grounding. The one-drop beat became a heartbeat for revolution, identity, and spiritual assertion. Again and again, we see the same principle. The drum is not decoration, it is declaration. Back on the African continent, sacred rhythm never left, but it too evolved. Genres like Afrobeat, Soukous, and Amapiano pulse with divine legacy. Though packaged for clubs and charts, the heartbeat of the Orishas is still present. The intricate percussion patterns, the call and response vocals, the hypnotic grooves, they all reflect ancient memory. Afrobeats may wear the clothes of pop, but its soul is ancestral. Soukous may sparkle with guitars, but its spine is the drum. Amapiano may float on house textures, but its timing and feel remain undeniably rooted in African spiritual rhythm. Today, this legacy is global. African rhythms, once confined to temples and village squares, now flow through speakers in Lagos, New York, Rio, and Paris. From stadium concerts to street festivals, from gospel choirs to nightclub DJs, the sacred beat lives on, and whether the listener knows it or not, they are dancing with the gods. They are moving to rhythms that once opened ceremonies, summoned deities, and transformed lives. The beauty of this influence is not just in its reach, but in its continuity. Despite centuries of oppression, forced migration, and cultural suppression, the rhythm endured. It adapted, it rerouted itself in new soil, grew new branches, and bore new fruit. But the tree was always the same. The drum that called Shango still calls him. The song that welcomed Legba still opens the gate. The movements that honored ancestors still echo through every stage and studio. In this way, African music is not a genre, it is a spiritual lineage. It is a living archive of memory, struggle, celebration, and divine presence. The gods who shaped rhythm did not vanish. They found new ways to move through the world. And so, the next time you hear a beat that makes your body move, consider this. It may not just be music. It may be a God still speaking through the rhythm. From the sacred shrines of West Africa to the urban rhythms of today's global cities, one truth remains constant. African gods shape music and dance not just for joy, but for connection. These were never created to entertain. They were designed to bridge worlds. The drumbeat was a prayer. The dance was a conversation. Through rhythm and movement, people connected with their gods, their ancestors, their inner selves, and their communities. Every ceremony, every trance, every sacred sway has been a testament to that divine purpose. We've seen how Shango's fire lives in the Bata drum, how Oshun flows through graceful movement, how Oya storms across the dance floor. We've traveled from Yoruba rituals to Bantu healing ceremonies to Zulu warrior dances to Haitian voodoo and beyond. We've traced the rhythm across oceans through centuries of survival and resistance into modern music that still pulses with sacred memory. And throughout it all, the message remains. These rhythms are not just art, they are spiritual technology, ancient frequencies still shaping how we move, how we feel, and how we connect. So the next time you hear a beat that stirs your spirit or makes your body move, pause, listen closer. Let it remind you of the invisible world just beneath the surface of sound. Let it remind you of the ancestors dancing beside you. Let it remind you that rhythm is not empty, it is filled with presence. When you hear the beat, remember, it is not only music, it is the God still speaking. If this journey moved you, lightened you, or even made you curious, don't let it end here. Keep the conversation alive. Tap into the rhythm by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to AfriCosmos One for more stories where culture meets spirit, where history meets the divine, and where African legacy lives on through sound, dance, and memory. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for feeling the rhythm with us. From all of us at AfriCosmos One, we honor your presence, your curiosity, and your time. Until next time, stay connected, stay grounded, and never stop dancing with the gods.